Go. Are you gonna go?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Sorry, I just read something that was
I
really
said
funny.
go. We're
Oh, we're
live.
ready? We're live?
We're
Oh,
live.
okay, that was unprofessional. Welcome back, episode 42. Um, don't mind me. Totally not looking at Twitter while we're going live. Um, Pretty interesting week. We kind of took a week off. We were both really busy, and frankly, we were both really tired. But we're back.
And I didn't watch any
Uh,
of the games.
Partially. Uh, Interesting week. Both our teams lost again, as usual. It's kind of becoming a trend at this point, but what can you do? So let's just jump into it. This is the first week of bye week, right? Yeah, first week of
Yeah,
bye weeks.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or
Wait,
last week was.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I think it was first week of bye weeks. Um,
I think so.
Tampa. So Tampa Bay was playing on Thursday, and I thought it was kind of funny because they beat the hell out of Philly. The 6 points doesn't really do it enough of a favor. It was a blowout, and it was just Philly was just kind of there. But I think what's surprising with Tampa Bay for me is how good Antonio Brown has been, especially this season. Because I honestly think you could make a case he's their best receiver now, overall.
Yeah, it's very frustrating that being a Mike Evans fantasy owner that, Mike Evans used to be this like 1,400 yard, like 10 touchdown guy season. And then Tom Brady came to town and brought all his friends, and now he's only like 1,000 yard, maybe like five touchdowns.
Yeah,
It's very annoying.
yeah. Yeah. Mike Evans might not get his 1,000 yard season at this rate, which is kind of crazy to think about. It would be his first season not getting 1,000 yards.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but at the same time, I think Mike Evans, as long as he's winning, he doesn't really care. That's just me. So
I
yeah,
care though.
we know
I
Tampa Bay's
care.
good, but I think something that's funny about Philly is I think it kind of shows that last year was not about wins. There's an issue with Philly, and it's deep rooted, I think, in the GM Howie Roseman.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
the team is overpaid, and they don't have. It doesn't look like they really have the passion, which is, in my opinion, the number one issue. I don't think Hertz is the big issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sirianni wants his own quarterback. Even with the draft class, I don't think it's that good personally. I think it's solid, but you've seen Spencer Rattler's not going to get picked this year, and he was like a lot of people's number one quarterback. So now you don't even have Rattler in it. It's pretty bare bones. It's
It's a pretty bad
Malik
class. Yeah.
Wills.
Yeah,
It's
Malik
what
Willis is
Malik
probably
Wills.
quarterback one.
You have the kid from Ole Miss who's done pretty well.
Corral or
Yeah,
Coral, however you pronounce it.
I don't know if he would be a first round prod. He'd be a project in the first round. Maybe you could consider a guy like Howell from North
UNC.
Carolina. Yeah. Maybe, but I don't know, man.
There's not
Whoever needs a quarterback.
there's not first round quarterbacks in this class. The closest you're gonna get is Malik Willis, and that's just because of his athletic ability.
Yeah,
That's it.
and even then, he's shown some struggles at Liberty. I don't know, man. I'm not big on the quarterback class, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles were to draft a quarterback. I think they have three first round picks in this draft, so it's not a shocker. I just don't think it'll end up being a good quarterback.
Oh yeah. As of right
Um,
now, they currently, I believe, have two picks within the top. Yeah, two picks within the top 13 picks. Pick 6 and pick 13.
yeah, they're gonna need something, and I think the Eagles. I would be worried about just in general their future because Sirianni's probably locked in for a few years. I mean, you saw how patient they were with Doug Peterson, so Sirianni's locked in for a few years. Uh, Hurts again. I don't think it's his fault. But I think they're eventually going to move on from him. Sadly, um, I'm not high on Philly's future. I think Philly's in a longer rebuild than people will expect. I think it's going to be a long rebuild.
Yeah. They were once like one of the oldest rosters in the league, and now they're kind of like in that strange middle ground where they're in between young and old, and also in between good and bad, but leaning more towards the bad side. And
Mhm.
especially if you just keep the same GM around who's made mistake after mistake, and not only like re-signing players, but in the draft and free agency, with some of the contracts he's given out and some of the players that he's picked it instead of other players, it's it's just crazy how Howie Roseman still has it all together, and the Eagles' ownership is being extremely patient for some reason with Howie Roseman.
It reminds me a lot of the Falcons and how they're just being really patient, and that's something that you don't see a lot. But there's a reason you don't see it a lot, and it's you just can't be complacent in this game, whether it's college, NFL, even high school. You can't be complacent. I think that's the issue with the Eagles is they're just complacent. Um, let's stop bragging on the Eagles because we could do that for an hour. Uh, Green Bay and Chicago.
Who's right?
Eh,
This guy.
Aaron Rodgers is funny. Um, as much as I try not to like him. He's kind of funny. Um,
I mean, he wasn't
he
wrong
does,
though.
no, he's not. He owns that city. It's pretty bad. Chicago is bad. Justin Fields, it's not really his fault. He's getting hit a
Yeah.
lot more than any rookie quarterback should get. He's getting hit more than Mac, and that's saying a lot.
He's probably getting
Um,
hit as much as Zach is.
yeah, yeah, he's getting hit them, and it's. I feel bad for him because you can't really do much with that offensive line. Khalil Herbert had a good game, which took some pressure off Fields, which was good. Your guy.
My boy.
That was cool to see, but at the same time, it's a concern in Chicago. Is you finally found what you think is the franchise quarterback, and you have nothing around him. So
Yeah.
it's a long season
You
for
got
Chicago.
some pieces, but that O line is just too bad. Like you got David Montgomery when he gets back. You got Khalil Herbert now. You got Allen Robinson, but who knows if he's going to stick around? I think he's on the franchise tag. And you got an up and comer in Darnell Mooney. But other than that, that's pretty much all you got. Even on the defense, it's been decimated over the past few years. You still got Khalil Mack. You still got Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks.
But
Other
the
than that,
secondary
it's
is
just kind of gone.
almost at like bottom 10 in the NFL. They don't really have any corners that can shut down a receiver. They don't really have. Eddie Jackson has regressed massively. He used to be a turnover machine, but when you had good corners, it allowed him to roam,
Yeah.
make plays. But they're asking him to be almost their main cover guy on a lot of guys. He just can't do it. That's just not his play style. So you've seen him regress almost like kind of like what I would call a Jamal Adams regression, where he's still good, but he's being played in the wrong system and in the wrong way. So I'm concerned about the Bears. I don't see it. I think they're honestly one of the worst teams in the league, and their record's kind of just a little fluffed. But let's talk about Green Bay. Green Bay opened the season with a complete stunk, and
Yeah.
then have 5 wins. I would say this is probably the best Green Bay team we've seen in a while. I think it's miles better than last year's team. I thought last year's team was pretty bad considering they made the NFC Championship game. They didn't really deserve to be there, but
We say that every
this
year
year-
about the Packers.
this year they're a little bit better. I just have one issue with Green Bay. The defense is so inconsistent, even more inconsistent than last year. And if they don't get Jair Alexander back, I don't think they can make a playoff. But now, we said that last year they made the NFC Championship game, but I don't know. There's always something about Green Bay that feels like they're a step away. And I feel
Yeah.
like trading for Gilmore would have been that step. He just didn't do it.
What a surprise.
I'm
Green Bay did make a move they should have made. What a
And then
surprise.
they signed Jalen Smith, which didn't make much sense to me because he's really not the type of linebacker that would play in Green Bay. Normally, Green Bay likes the tackling linebackers that really stop the run. He's more of a
Yeah.
coverage backer. It didn't make sense to me personally. We'll see. Maybe Green Bay has it and they prove me wrong, but I just think you see Tampa Bay in that division, in that conference. You see the other NFC teams that are starting to make a move up. I just don't see it.
Yeah, neither do I. You're going to see Green Bay make the playoffs, obviously, because they're playing in the NFC North.
Yeah.
But with their issues, you just don't see them getting past the divisional round, if not by some Aaron Rodgers magic that takes them to the championship game for another year.
I just don't see them getting past like the Rams. I think the Rams are just so much more improved on both sides of the ball.
Agreed.
Uh, Detroit. Yeah, the Dan Campbell experience is in full swing. It's bad.
I mean, I wouldn't put this fully on Dan Campbell. That team is atrocious.
It is.
And
He's
Jared
definitely a
Goff is
culture guy.
playing not well at all.
He's Yeah, and he's probably going to be the Lions quarterback next year purely because of there's no one in the draft. Like you said,
Yeah.
if I'm Detroit, I'm taking this draft, build again, like you say, build the trenches. I think they did a decent job last year. I would, in my opinion, look for another offensive lineman, preferably on the right side, maybe a
Neal.
right tackle.
Evan Neal from
you do-
Bama. Or
Him and Panay Sewell would be great.
or even go on the defensive side of the ball and take Kayvon Thibodeau.
Thibodeau has an injury history, which is kind of concerning. I think that's going to pop up when people are going to go for drafting him. I think that's going to be his biggest concern. This is the first year. I don't think there's a consensus number one anymore. With Thibodeau's injury, you have no quarterbacks, and unless there's a quarterback that has a really good late season push, I think the number one pick's a 50-50, honestly.
Probably between Stingley and Evan Neal, honestly.
The issue with Stingley, I'm not trying to be mean, but the issue with Stingley is he's so inconsistent. Hey, if you're drafting a corner that inconsistent at pick one, you are taking a huge gamble.
Yeah, this draft class is just that bad.
It'll probably be better once we actually get to watch more film of it. But as the moment, I honestly would not want to be a losing team and have to worry about picking in the top four. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want that decision on me. It sounds like it would be awful. But one team that's not going to have to worry about that is Cincinnati. I don't know how they're 4-2.
4-2, yeah.
For real, man. I wrote it down. I don't know what you think, but I think if a guy like Brady or Kyler starts to regress a little bit towards the mean, don't be surprised if you see Burrow's name thrown in the MVP race.
I would not be mad at that.
4-2 with a team that a lot of people aren't huge on, with a coach that a lot of people don't believe in, Zach Taylor. I mean, hey man, I'm all for it. I've been impressed. They've made the Jamar Chase pick. They made you and me look stupid on that Jamar Chase pick. He was the correct pick. I don't think we can argue that anymore.
Yeah.
He was the right pick.
I mean, you still wouldn't be bad with Panay Sewell, but Jamar
No.
Chase has added that extra oomph to the offense.
And the thing with Jamar Chase, I think the biggest thing that he's brought to the table that he didn't have at LSU is the route running. In LSU, he was more of just a go up and get it receiver, which is nothing wrong with that. A lot of receivers start that way, but the thing with Jamar Chase is he's run his routes beautifully in the NFL. He's not like a top 10 route runner or anything, but he's definitely shown that he can add things to his game. That was his number one issue coming out of college.
Yeah, was the separation.
Completely, he's silenced that. He can get separation on anyone. So they've made us look wrong. I guess that's why we're not NFL scouts yet. So yeah, it was cool to see. I'm happy for Cincinnati. It's a feel good story, I think, for Cincinnati. You want to see them succeed. No one hates the Bengals beside AFC North fans. To be honest, even they really don't hate the Bengals because
Yeah.
the Bengals have kind of been
Been
bad.
the bottom dwellers, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to hate those bottom dwellers when they're bottom dwellers, except if they're the Raiders.
And that's my thing. Like, I don't understand Patriots fans who like despise the Jets. I don't see it. Like they've been so bad for so long. Like I don't know how you can hate them. Same with the Bills. Like I don't hate the Bills, even though that they're good. I don't hate them. The only team from the AFC East I don't like is Miami.
The only team I'm okay with from the AFC West is the Chargers.
Yeah. Speaking of bad football, Houston, man,
Oh my.
how do you play so good against New England only to get blasted by the Colts? Just destroyed. It wasn't even a contest. I don't even think it was a football game. It was a slaughter that was barely in the rules of football. I don't even know what to say about the game other than the fact that Houston is.
They got embarrassed. Big
You
time.
have the Watson situation, which in and of itself is a huge distraction. You have Davis Mills, who, God bless him, he shouldn't be on the football field right now. You have an awful offensive line, no defense. They actually cut Whitney Merciless, who I think was their best defensive player left. I mean, they have nothing, man. The future looks really bad. It's going to be at least a 3-year rebuild, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
The best
No,
their best players are Brandon Cooks and and Laramie Tunsil. And that's it.
Mark Ingram. I mean,
A 30
what can you
what
do?
a 30-year-old Mike Ingram.
Yeah, what can you do? I mean, the only thing I must say I like what Houston's doing. It's a very small thing. Is I just like how they're still aggressive. That's the only thing about Houston that I like is they're aggressive. Everything else needs work. At least they're aggressive. So I can give them that. But it's going to be a long, and especially like you said, with no quarterback in this draft, they're probably going to be stuck with Davis Mills again next year. So I feel bad for Davis Mills. He's going to get thrown under the bus. His career is probably going to be marred just because he was on Houston. Sucks. Kind of like a Deshaun Kaiser thing. He was kind of the scapegoat for the 0-16 and just kind of got thrown under the bus. I think it's going to be Davis Mills, sadly.
Yeah,
And Indy. I mean, I don't even think you can even say anything about Indy because it was Houston. So
yeah, T.Y. Hilton came back for his first time in a while, put up 4 catches for 80 yards against them, and then went out in the second half with a quad injury after just coming back from that neck or back injury, I believe it was.
I feel bad for T.Y. I feel like he deserves so much better as a player. He deserves so much more recognition for his toughness. He deserves so much more. He deserves a couple wins, man. Ugh, sucks.
Yeah.
Feel bad for Ty.
The Rams and the Giants. This was a game.
Dude, I feel bad, man. I've been one of Joe Judge's biggest supporters, but it's definitely not the marriage that I think that's right. He obviously wants to be the dude, and there's nothing I don't think wrong with it. I think he has the potential for that. I just don't think that Giants team and the Giants management is the right fit for Joe Judge. They obviously are on different pages. Joe Judge obviously thinks they should be contenders for at least a playoff spot, and they're just not that. They're banged up. Daniel Jones has actually been decent this season. He hasn't been the issue.
This was his worst game all season.
Yeah. It's really not him, but I have a feeling the Giants are just going to go for a full reset. Just get rid of Daniel Jones. Maybe tag him and let him play one more year, but get rid of Daniel Jones. Maybe entertain trading Barkley. I don't think that's too far out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think it is either, especially with his injury history.
It sucks because he's a generational talent. I don't think anyone's denying that. But he just hasn't been there to play the games. So if I'm the Giants and you're looking at a reset, I would trade Barkley now while his value is still probably a 3rd, 4th round pick. Considering if you let him stay any longer and he misses more time, you're looking at maybe a 5th or a 6th round pick. And I just don't think that's good value. I'd rather get the value now and get it done, reset the culture. It's tough, man. Joe Judge is probably on his way out.
Yeah. If you're Baltimore, what's there to just throw a 2nd or 3rd round pick at the Giants? Is like, hey, how about this?
Why not? I mean,
it's like
might as well. Him and J.K. Dobbins could be a really good 1-2 punch. J.K. Dobbins is more of your electric threat. Barkley you could use as more of a power threat, and just kind of have them play off each other. I think that'd be a great idea, personally. It just comes down to how aggressive Dave Gettleman will be. Personally, I don't believe it. I believe he'll probably hold on as long as he can because he's just that stubborn.
Yeah.
And I think by then it'll be too late. So the Giants are another team that they're 1 or 2 injuries / mistakes away from being in a 4-year rebuild as well. So it sucks.
One of the mistakes would be keeping Dave Gettleman around.
They do have a star though in Kadarius Toney. That's the one bright spot. Toney is a freak. Like I said, just saying. Remember when I said the best route runner in the class, and people were like, telling you, man, that man is Keenan Allen 2.0. Kansas City. Dude.
Dang it. They just had to win.
Washington was off to such a good start, and they just got exposed.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I liked Washington last year.
So did I.
They've
had them win the division this year.
They've taken such a step back.
Yeah.
It sucks, man. And it's not even the offense is an issue, but the offense was what it was last year. The difference this year is their aggressiveness on defense. They are just not the same attacking defense we saw last year. They don't blitz as much. They aren't, in my opinion, they aren't being as aggressive in their amoeba fronts. They're not putting, corners on the line. They're not putting some safeties in the box. They're just playing very casual, soft defense, and it's just not working. I don't think it's panic button, like they have to reset, but you can't keep doing this for years.
Yeah.
Eventually, you have to get out of mediocrity, and I don't know, man. I'm not huge on it. I'm a little worried about them.
Yeah, they have great defensive pieces. They're just the scheme is just not benefiting them whatsoever currently.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason a defense with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Ron Payne, all of those guys
Matthew Ioannidis still
should not be just blitzing the quarterback 60% of the time.
Landon
there's
Collins,
no reason
Cameron
for that.
Curl,
I mean, it's frustrating.
Kendall Fuller. List
Watching
goes
a
on
good
and on.
Watching
Jamin Davis.
watching teams that have such good talent and not utilize them properly is the most frustrating thing as a fan.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, trust me, we'll get to people not utilizing their talent correctly in a little bit.
Yeah, I think from both of us, there'll definitely be
yeah.
some rants about that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, but Mahomes, it was funny. The first half of the game, Mahomes threw that second interception, and Twitter, man, they were done. They were calling Mahomes washed, and then they go out in the second half. It was kind of funny. Mahomes, as much as everyone's gonna hate to say it, he's still the best quarterback in the league. A bad stretch doesn't change that. He's still the best quarterback in the league. So
Yeah. I think I saw a stat like he has like 12 interceptions in like the last 9 games or something like that.
it was 15 in the last 15. He's averaging about an interception a game, which he's never done before.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. He's
'Cause
they're
Yeah.
like any good quarterback.
It really
You're
doesn't
gonna-
matter
you're
because the
gonna-
Chiefs can easily score in one play and regain that possession.
When you have two players who at their position are probably the best, one side, it's hard not to put up 30 points. You have to try. So I'm not worried about Kansas City. They're going to make a playoff push. They're going to be good. They're going to win a playoff game. Sucks, but it's just life.
That's how it is.
Minnesota, Carolina. I got a kick out of this game.
You love talking crud about Minnesota, so let's hear it.
Okay. I will give Minnesota the fact that they won that game. I think it was even funnier is the fact that that touchdown in overtime was beautiful, by the way. Kendrick Osborne, I don't know how he got that open. But Carolina without McCaffrey is just not good. He is what holds that team together on offense. When you take away CMC, even with how good Chuba Hubbard has been, trust me, my fantasy team appreciates me some Chuba Hubbard, but it's not it. They are so one-dimensional without McCaffrey in the backfield that I don't understand how they're going to make a playoff push at this rate if they're going to continue doing the one-dimensional run, pass, run, pass. It's just not going to work for them.
Yeah. That recipe barely works for success unless you're like Cleveland and you have like, great running backs.
Yeah, if you have a good play action game, you can do that every time, like the Titans. Yeah, but like the Titans, their core weakness is the moment Henry is stopped for just a minute, they lose momentum, and that's the Panthers the whole time right now. They just don't have that momentum, and until Carolina finds a way to build upon an offense without McCaffrey, they're not going to be anything more than maybe a wild card team. So you can add all the defensive talent in the world, you can add all the offensive talent in the world, but if you're not getting consistent play, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Minnesota is the king of putting up 30 points and still not having a good record. I don't understand. Minnesota's offense is so good, and they're just not. It's such a good offense. Kirk Cousins is it's contract year. Kirk Cousins, man, the man is different. He's built different in contract years. He's just different.
Just constantly give him 1-year deals.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Just give him 1-year deals every year, and he's just gonna keep playing good. I mean, it's just how he does. He might even win a Monday night game on one of your deals. Who knows?
True.
Um, Speaking of Cleveland, they got completely blasted. I didn't watch the game, sadly. This was one of the few games I missed. Yeah, I think this because it was on during the Patriots game, and I'll be honest, I was just distraught. So
I don't blame you.
anyway,
We'll get
yeah,
there soon
Cleveland.
enough.
Oh yeah, Cleveland got blasted. Kind of funny, kind of not.
Kareem Hunt's injured now for a few weeks, I believe.
My Super Bowl bet's going down the drain.
Yeah, you should have bet on Arizona.
They were like the third or fourth game I thought about. Anyway, sucks.
All right, you want to
I'm
get
not
into
getting-
your rant? Your New England rant?
Okay. I'm going to be civil about this. All right? I'm being civil. I am so frustrated with the play calling. Listen, the defense, they had a bad game. But there's a reason they had a bad game. They played 83 snaps on defense. That's too many. I don't care if you're the best defense. I don't care if you're the 85 Bears. You can't play 83 snaps on defense and expect to give up anything less than 20 or anything less than 30 even. It's just not viable. That's the number one issue. But you want to know why we were on the field for 83 snaps? Take a walk, yes. We only threw the ball 21 times in an overtime game. That's it.
McDaniels really doesn't trust Jones.
He doesn't. I don't care what McDaniels and Belichick say in the media about how they trust Mac. The play calling speaks for itself. They only trust Mac when the game is seemingly out of reach. And I don't think you can build a quarterback to do that. I understand Mac isn't a top 15 to 20 quarterback right now. I fully understand it. I'm not that delusional. However, when you have a fourth down into an overtime, you're at the 50-yard line, and you haven't been able to stop Dallas on defense, why would you punt the ball? And all they need is 30 yards to kick a field goal. And by the way, they have Greg Zuerlein. I know the game ended on a touchdown. They have Greg Zuerlein, who's a phenomenal kicker. So why would you do that? Because you're playing not to
lose.
You're playing not to lose. You're not playing to win. And that's the biggest issue I have with New England. It's like McDaniels and Belichick think we still have Brady, we still have Gilmore, we still have these phenomenal playmakers. We have Edelman in the slot. We don't. We just don't have that anymore. We are a completely new team, completely different identity. But we're playing like we have Brady, and we don't. We don't have the defense that was historically good 2 seasons ago. It's not there anymore. So why are we punting in overtime on 4th and 2 when our quarterback is at throwing like 75% completion? Just threw a 75-yard touchdown 2 minutes before, after throwing a pick six to one of the better corners in the league. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's bad football, and I know Belichick is great. I know McDaniels is a great offensive mind, but that doesn't make them immune from criticism. They need to be better, and until McDaniels calls some good plays, it's not going to happen. Last thing about this: in the second quarter, New England started running 2 tight end sets. And it was working really well. Hunter Henry got a touchdown off of it. Jonnu Smith even got a couple catches. He still hasn't really broken out, but that's beside the point. We were seeing some good things from Hunter Henry. And then we stopped running it. You want to know why? Belichick said they ran out of plays. We ran, I think it was 8 plays out of 2 tight ends. You mean to tell me we have 8 2 tight ends? So there's 2 explanations. A, you're lying, which is it. Or B, which is the actual thing, is you spent money on 2 of the top tight ends on the market to have 8 tight end sets. You mean to tell me you can't, I don't know, draw up a play where Jonnu's a receiver? You can't draw up a play where Jonnu's playing fullback? You can't draw up a play where Hunter Henry and Jonnu are just lined up next to the tackles like every other team has 50 plays of? You know? I mean, that's like high school ball issues. That's like, really?
That's a bit
Even
sad.
even 13-year-olds playing football in the backyard have two tight end sets more than 8 times. Okay, I'm sorry. It's stupid. It's unexcusable. I've said this every time. There's Patriots fans that are like, "Oh, we're 3 plays away from 5-1." No, we're not, because we aren't playing good enough for that. Yeah, we're losing close games. I don't care if we're losing close games. We aren't playing to win. Just because the teams that we're playing are not good and they're giving us chances doesn't mean we're good. We've let Mac down in every loss, and even in some of the wins, we've let him down. It's that simple. New England has so many issues that playoffs aren't even in the back of my mind.
Playoffs.
It's so far gone. I'm worried about letting Mac get the trust from McDaniels, and if he doesn't, get McDaniels out of there. Hate to say it that way, but it's the only way New England can improve.
I don't think McDaniels wants to go anywhere but New England. Just refuses to leave.
Last thing on McDaniels, and then because I could rant about McDaniels for days. Here's what I'm gonna say. In the last 3 seasons, he's had 3 separate quarterbacks. He's had Brady, we know is not washed. Cam Newton, who, yes, you can make a case Cam Newton wasn't the best, but he didn't take advantage of Cam Newton. And then now Mac. He didn't trust either one of those. He didn't call good plays the last 3 seasons. And he hasn't been able to make do with those 3 quarterbacks. How many quarterbacks does he need? How many?
Yes.
I understand the weapons aren't the best. I understand Nelson Aguilar has butters on his lips. I get it. But you mean to tell me you can't make use of 2 former MVPs, one who might win MVP this year, and one of the better rookies we've seen in the last 5 years at the quarterback position? You can't do anything with that? Come on. It's sad. It's just sad. So, it's sad. That's all I can say.
Yeah. As much as I hate New England, I feel for you.
So, moving on. I could rant about Josh McDaniels for days. Moving on.
To Seattle and Pittsburgh. Oh, Lord. This is a game I just crossed off on my list to not watch, just in general. It's like, this is a waste of time.
Imagine telling somebody 2 years ago, that Pittsburgh and Seattle would be one of the most boring games of a week. They would say you are lying your butt off. 2 years ago, those teams were really good. Now they're just... Seattle has issues way deeper than the quarterback position. They are just not good. And then you have Pittsburgh, who, aside TJ Watt, that team is just atrocious. You have some good playmakers. Juju Smith-Schuster's out for the year.
Yep.
They haven't really been able to let Claypool really have a good year too. Najee's good. He's been growing into himself steadily. But overall, I mean, the Steelers kind of they won just because the other team lost. They aren't the best team.
Yeah.
They aren't even really top 20. I don't know. I'm not high on either team. Geno Smith has looked decent. I'll give Geno Smith that. He's been decent.
Steelers are honestly the worst team in that division.
Yeah. Barring, Baker Mayfield being out for an extended time.
Yeah.
I'd agree. I don't know, man. All I can say is Geno Smith is better than expected. Which, I guess that's good for Seattle. Maybe get some trade value for him. That's the only thing I can think of.
Geno Smith's always that name that you always think is out of the NFL. Then he just starts one random game. He's like, oh, Geno Smith's still here.
Yeah. Hey, I'll give him that, man. He's made a good career out of almost being ostracized from the NFL after the Jets. He's made a decent career out of it. I give him respect. He was annoying for New England. He actually was the last rookie quarterback to beat.
Yep.
He was frustrating. I'm sorry. He was frustrating as a rookie. Miami Jacksonville. The London game. What is it with the NFL hates London, dude?
They really do. The Jets and Falcons.
The worst game.
Jets, Falcons, and Miami and Jacksonville.
they just schedule the worst games for them. I feel bad, you know. But I will say, as bad as I feel for London, I feel even worse for Tua. um, he had one of his best games as a pro yesterday. He was good. It's just, well, the team let him down. I really can I say something that's really annoying that kind of grinds my gears.
Okay.
People that say, "Wow, can't believe Miami didn't draft Herbert." Could you imagine? Let's transport back to 2 years ago. If Miami had decided to draft Herbert over Tua, could you imagine the absolute shitstorm that would have caused?
Yeah, that would have caused a lot of backlash.
No,
A
I'm
lot.
pretty sure even the Chargers, I'm pretty sure didn't know that was going to happen with Herbert. He just came on a lot quicker than anyone was expecting. And but people act like that was like a guaranteed thing. Sorry, dude, it wasn't.
Majority of people did not like Herbert in that draft class,
Me included.
me included.
I wasn't huge on Hurt. I wasn't big on Tua either. But if you ask me going into that draft, who do you like more, Tua or Herbert? I'm saying Tua every day.
I would have
Sorry.
agreed, and I didn't like
it was-
Tua either.
Exactly. So it's like people who like think that they knew that annoy me. It's frustrating. Anyway, moving on.
That's your favorite word.
Yeah.
This episode is frustrating.
I'm frustrated. Okay, I'm frustrated.
Wait,
Still
are you
frustrated.
saying frustrated without the R? Frustrated.
Frustrated.
Frus.
Frustrated. Frustrated. Anyway, moving on. I feel bad for Tua.
Oh, and here's Justin Herbert.
And Miami isn't. Miami's tanking again, which is kind of funny, but beside the point.
Who are they tanking for now? Another Alabama player?
Tanking for, well, yeah,
Taking for
the
Evan?
worst, the first pick in one of the worst recent draft classes. That's pretty tough, man.
I don't think there's any really top prospect for Alabama this year besides Evan Neal. Everyone else is like late first, early second for Alabama.
I mean, yeah, the only player that they have that he's not even coming out this year is Bryce Young. Young at.
Because you got Evan Neal at the top, and then you got like three late first, early second players in Jordan Battle, Christian Harris, and John Mechie, and that's pretty much it.
So, other game is there? But, oh yeah, this game. Can people?
This was
put some
disappointing. I saw this game on the schedule. I'm like, this is gonna be a good game. Nope. I wish that would have been a good game, but
Dude, can we just put some respect on Lamar Jackson's name? People still disrespect this man, and it's
I don't know how.
wild to me. It's wild. How many times is he gonna have to just win games with half of a roster, and people be like, "Well, he's a running
back."
And people say that. People say that unironically. Like it's kind of become a joke, but people still say that completely unironically, and it's sad because the man is literally a top, and I would argue top 5 quarterback, and people just refuse to see that. Anyway.
This weekend was
point.
painful. Rodgers owns the Bears. Lol. Ugh. Yeah, Roberto.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
feel your pain.
I knew. I must say. I know who commented that.
We both feel
Yeah.
your pain. Trust us.
Rodgers owns the whole NFC North pretty much at this rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just owns them. The NFC North is going to throw a party when he eventually leaves this season. They're just going to throw a party.
As long as he comes to Denver. And we get a new coaching staff.
Yeah, Vic Fangio. You want to get into the Denver rant because I've had my
Sure.
rant.
It's next up on
Yeah.
the list, so this is a great segue.
I'll let you go ahead.
So Denver was embarrassed at home to the Grudenless Wow, I wrote this and I can't even say it. Grudenless Raiders, 34-24. The score is closer than what the game actually was. That was a terrible game. Just from the beginning of the game, the Broncos O-line couldn't pass protect if they were playing against toddlers. Like they're literally letting former first round bust Solomon Thomas and former first round bust Cleveland Farrell hit Teddy Bridgewater and sack him. That is embarrassing. That's the best word I could use to say that. Teddy seemed to be getting hit, hurt, or hurried on every single pass snap. You just watch. Like at one point, I was just like not watching like anything else but the offensive line, and they just collapse completely across the entire line. It's like, how? Our offensive line on paper is good. We had a former All-Pro in Garrett Bowles last year. We have Dalton Reisner, who's been playing well over his first couple seasons. You got Lord Cushenberry, who's taken a step up from his rookie season because his rookie season was a bit bad. You got Graham Glasgow, who is a solid guard coming over from, I think it was Detroit. And then you got the right tackles, obviously the worst part, supposed to be the worst part of our offensive line, and Bobby Massey, who I think was a former Bear. But they all just played absolutely horrendous. Vic Fangio made me extremely mad with 2 absolutely egregious and idiotic challenges in the second half of the game. So we burned 2 timeouts and both of our challenges while we were down by like 17 points in the second half.
That's sad.
One was a missed touchdown by Noah Fant. The ball was just a little bit too overthrown, and Fant tried his best to get his other foot down, but he couldn't. And that was pretty obvious, and he challenged that for some reason. The other was if Henry Ruggs had caught a big play that got the Raiders inside the 5-yard line, which was also stupid because there was no evidence at all, even from just like watching it, at full speed without the instant replay, that there wasn't really any evidence that the ball hit the ground at all. And he's like, what? Let's burn another timeout. Throw the flag. It's just frustrating. Vic Fangio and his game management is extremely, extremely annoying to watch. It's almost as annoying as Drew Lock playing quarterback in the NFL and watching his pocket presence. Then out of that, Fangio, in my opinion, what we see on the sidelines, he's a very lackluster leader. He doesn't try to fire up his players at all. He just kind of sits there and just watches. He doesn't really go interact with the players at all. He's just very passive.
I'm not going to interrupt it for long, but that is the most frustrating coaching type to watch. Even Belichick, who has like that emotionless stare, still knows how to fire his players up. That is like the number one thing that bothers me when watching coaches. They just it just bothers me. Yeah. I'll let you continue.
As of recently, the coaching staff seems to be losing the locker room as well. Players and the coaches were visibly arguing on the sidelines during the game, and who knows what's going on in the locker room itself. I love how when Fangio got hired, his motto was "death by inches," which is now a complete joke, as the defense just keeps getting burned, laying up miles in big plays. It's a joke at this point, the death by inches approach. Alexander Johnson, out for the year with a torn pec. Both of our starting inside linebackers at the start of the year, Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson, both out for the season, which means our starting linebackers are going to be Justin Strnad and Micah Kaiser and or Baron Browning.
Oof.
So that's going to be fun. I wish we signed Jalen Smith. That would have been nice. Breaking news, George Payton still passed on Justin Fields for Patrick Surtain. If you didn't know that already, that's still a thing. Coaching staff needs to go. The only ones I would consider keeping around are Mike Munchak, offensive line coach, Bill Kollar, defensive line coach, and maybe Mike Shula, the quarterback's coach. Those are the only 3 I'd think about keeping. In the short term, Pat Shurmur and Vic Fangio need to absolutely give up their play calling duties. They both need to give up play calling duties. Vic Fangio needs to focus solely on game management because he's atrocious in that. He needs to give up the play calling. Pat Shurmur is just a terrible play caller and doesn't know how to scheme his players into good situations or utilize his players correctly. Give the play calling to Mike Shula, please. Fant, Sutton, and Kendall Hinton had good games. That's probably one of the only positives. We averaged 5 yards a carry with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, but we abandoned the run, even though Teddy Bridgewater is being slaughtered in the pocket by 3 and 4 man rushes. So that's always fun. Ronald Darby should never be allowed to cover Henry Ruggs again. All 3 of Henry Ruggs' catches came against Ronald Darby. Two were almost for a touchdown. 1 was for a touchdown. 2 were for big plays over the top. And final note: who's ready for the 2022 NFL Draft? Because I sure am.
I don't know.
I'm ready for the season to be over.
After we've kind of pooped on the draft the last 30 minutes, I don't know if I'm excited for it.
It's better than what we got going on right now in Denver. I can say that much.
True.
Thanks for passing off Fields, by the way. You are most definitely welcome. And I totally mean that with complete sincerity. You are most totally welcome that we passed on Justin Fields. I am so happy that we did so. Thank you for your pity.
That was pretty atrocious. Yeah, that was funny as hell.
Still my best reaction I think I've had to a pick in the past.
That was hilarious.
I have that saved on my phone, that video.
And then the final game of the week, I think it was actually the best game of the week personally. Buffalo, Tennessee.
Buffalo got beat by the team that lost to the Jets.
Makes sense. That's why the NFL makes sense. That's the one thing about the NFL that I love. You can go out and lose to the Jets. You can be in New England, go out, almost lose to Houston, and then almost beat Dallas. There's polar opposites. I love the NFL just for that one reason.
Any Sunday.
It was a great game, man. I loved the decision to go for it on that 4th down instead of just kicking the field goal. I thought it was perfect. I thought the play call was correct. I think Josh Allen just slipped. What can you do? It slipped. Oh well. That can happen to any quarterback. I don't think it's something that... I think what it does is I would rather lose a game by 3 points, but send that message to my players, hey, I trust you 1,000%, than kick the field goal, lose in overtime. What message does that send to your players? You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing.
That Tyler Bass is the best fantasy kicker in the league. That's the message that sends.
But I definitely think that if I'm Buffalo, I'm feeling really good about that loss. I think there's not many losses you can say I feel good about. I think that's a loss Buffalo can be fine with.
And now they're going into the bye, so they get some time to recollect and prepare for Week 8.
Nurse those bruises from Derrick Henry because that man's a freak. But
thank you.
That's another thing I want to talk about. I want to give you a hypothetical. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Let's say hypothetically, Tom Brady regresses to the mean. And then let's throw it out there even more. Let's say Kyler Murray struggles later in the season. Those are the top 2 MVP guys right now. Do you see a world where Derrick Henry wins it?
Realistically, no. But does he deserve it? Yes. Absolutely.
I can understand.
Because, just through 6 weeks already this season, with a struggle in week 1, I think it was, the man's leading the league in rushing yards by over 250 yards. And he's leading in rushing touchdowns by 5 rushing touchdowns. He has 783 yards and 10 touchdowns through the first 6 games of the season.
Yeah. We've never seen a running back like Henry in almost a decade. The only running back you could maybe say in the last decade that's close to Henry is Adrian Peterson. And he's one of the all-time. If Derrick Henry, and this is the biggest if Derrick Henry can stay healthy, he will go down as a top 5 running back in that. I'll say it.
Agreed.
I'm not afraid. If he can avoid major injury like an ACL, Achilles, or anything like that, if he can avoid those injuries, I don't care how many times he gets hit, he has a chance to be an all-time great running back.
Absolutely.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
For a running back who was, for some reason, picked in the 2nd round, he's like the one running back I don't understand how he didn't go in the 1st round. Even when he was coming out, I thought he was worth a 1st rounder, just because you don't see a running back like that often. He's a freak, man. I love watching Derrick Henry. I think we're lucky to watch him play.
Oh yeah.
'Cause we're probably not going to see another running back like Henry in our lifetime. It's just probably the way it is. We're probably never going to see another one. So, yeah, I think it is possible for him to win MVP. I don't think it's a great possibility, but if there's some quarterbacks that struggle, man, I think crazier things have happened. So,
Like
I'm
wide
looking forward to
receiver
it.
winning the Heisman.
Hey, man, anything can happen. So that was the week.
In
Game of
Madden
the week.
22, in Madden 22, he'd probably win the MVP. Just seeing all those like sim stat. I'm thankful I still don't have the game, but just seeing like all like the videos of like how like 7 of the top 10 candidates for MVP in Madden are always running backs.
So, game of the week. Honestly, games next week don't look that good. A lot of blowouts that are probably going to happen this week. Honestly, I'm looking at the games, man. I see one game of the week. Maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
No, I see one. I see one. And even then, I don't think it's going to be a game of the week type game.
What's your game of the week? Then?
I would go Bengals Ravens. You have kind of a team that's really struggling with injuries right now. Ronnie Staley, it actually just came out when we started the podcast. He's on injured reserve now.
Oof. That's
So
3
Ravens,
weeks at least.
they have the most players on IR, by the way. The Ravens. I think they're like at 18. Yeah, they're the most injured team in the league. Detroit's second, I think. So you have a team who's banged up, but they're really good, versus Cincinnati, who's really been overperforming. It's kind of who's going to win. If I had to pick, I think it'd be an upset. I think the Bengals come out with this game. First game without your left tackle. You already have a banged up offensive line and running back core as it is. I'm going to go Bengals. I'm going to go, you know what? High scoring game, 38-31. Cincinnati.
All right. I would have definitely agreed with you if you didn't pick that one. So I'm going to go with Carolina and the Giants as my game of the week. I think that could be a very interesting and close game. Just seeing like the struggles of both teams as of recently. They both have their glaring weaknesses and their obvious strengths, so I think that could be a very good game to watch. I'm going to take New York and Daniel Jones. Let's go with 25-18.
Like it. All right. Do you have a college player of the week ready to go?
I do, yes.
I'll let you pull it up while I do my fantasy.
Mine's already pulled up.
All right. Well, I'm doing my fantasy first.
Okay.
There's now when you have weeks that are like this where there's a lot of blowouts, it means there's going to be a lot of fantasy pool. Specifically, my favorite matchup: the 5-1 Rams are at home versus the 0-6 Lions. Cooper Kupp is about to put up 150 yards. You can pretty much lock that at this point. I would start every Rams skill player, Deshaun Jackson. Wouldn't blame you if you started Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson. Wouldn't blame you at all. Both running backs, I think, are flex options this week. Cardinals are playing the Texans, so you should be playing any Cardinals players regardless, but especially versus Houston. But I think something that's kind of under the radar that is really going to help whoever plays, I think this is Trey Lance's breakout. I'm calling it. Trey Lance is having a breakout game versus the Colts. Colts, I think they're a good team, but I think Trey Lance is eventually due for a breakout. He has the weapons to do it. It just takes one completion to get into a rhythm, and I think Trey Lance puts up 350 yards. Trey Lance this week. He's probably not even rostered in most leagues.
Yeah.
Primetime game, too.
Is it really?
It is 7 p.m. Looks like Sunday.
Interesting. All right. So my college player of the week, I didn't have a lot of time to do much, so I'm going to go with a BYU boy. This one will be probably pretty quick. Interior offensive lineman, their starting center, James Empey, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Redshirt senior, 6'4", 305 pounds. His dad is a former offensive line and a former offensive lineman and O-line coach at BYU. He's a sufficient athlete. He has great initial quickness off the snap and can control his body pretty well. He's just pretty much a good all-around player. Does great in combo blocks and during the run game. He's strong in the pass game and maintains his anchor well. He has good punch in his pass sets. But his main issue is he's a little light. He's only 305 pounds. So you definitely want to see him bulk up more. He's more of a technique guy than a great athlete. So he's probably more of your mid-round offensive lineman. There's not much upside with him either. So since he's about 25 years old since he served his mission, so he's a redshirt senior who served a mission, so he's about 25 years old coming in as a rookie. So really you're just looking at maybe like a bottom tier starting center or a really good backup swing center interior lineman that you could have on your team. So probably a decent pickup if you're in like 5th, 6th round and you need some depth on the offensive line. James Empey could be a really good pickup for you.
He sounds like a Patriot. Everything you just described sounds like a Patriots offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised to see New England draft him just because of that. We do need some interior help, so that would be. Although Ted Cross and James Ferentz played way better than they should have a couple weeks ago, but that's beside the point. So that ends the week, man. Interesting week. Hopefully we'll be able to get a recording session in the next week's kind of a little iffy. I have vacation. I think you have vacation too. However, we'll do our best. Thank you guys for showing up, and we'll see you guys hopefully next week.